The load order system is built on Levridge. Levridge is a Dynamics 365 platform. It's built on a Dynamics 365 platform. It uses the modern cloud-based technology, so it is a cloud solution. We do a lot of business to business, and with load orders, that's very key because sometimes you're communicating your load number to a business partner. And the customer grower vendor customer in this case is considered a stakeholder in the software. In other words, the software is built in a way where your customer can interact with it in a secure and self-serve type of way. So that's some of the foundations that the Levridge commodity accounting system is built on. Let's talk about load orders and what they are and why. So a load order is a method of planning and tracing and efficiently processing outbound commodity transactions. So the way it works is you issue a load order to your customer. It's usually based on a contract. The load order is then shipped and then invoiced. And we'll get to that in just a minute. So why do you want to use load orders? Well, there's four basic fundamental reasons to use load orders for outbound, and one of them is planning. A lot of times a business will plan their loads for the following week. So today is Wednesday. Let's say we're planning loads for next week. By issuing load orders, you know exactly what day they're going to ship. We have the plan of what day they're going to ship, how they're going to ship, and where they're going to. So you can see some type of capacity to make sure that you can fulfill all the orders that you've committed to. Security is the other part of the load order benefits, and that is when a truck driver arrives at the plant or the facility, they need to provide the load number in order to pick up anything. So that provides a base level of security. It says, hey, the truck driver's supposed to be here. We know what customer he's hauling for, what commodity he's here to get, and it just makes the plant a little more secure in making sure unauthorized truckers don't show in your yard or aren't allowed in your yard. Traceability is the other part of the load orders. We can trace a load order all the way from its origination to the time it's shipped to the time it's invoiced. It gives you one number all the way through that and allows you to communicate effectively using the load order number. Efficiency is the fourth benefit of a load order, and by efficiency I mean mostly it occurs at the scale ticket. When we've issued a load order, we have the customer and the item and the contract that it's applied, that the load is applied to, and then when that scale ticket is created and we put the load order on it, it's very efficient because the load order already has the customer, the commodity, and the contract, so it saves some data entry then at the scale ticket and further down the line. So it's one single way of very efficiently processing transactions. Let's look at the life cycle of a load order. So the first thing is the load order is issued, and we create load orders from sales contracts. So the scenario would be a customer calls in and says, hey, I have contract number 123. I'd like to come and get 3 loads next week. So we can go ahead and pull up the contract, issue the 3 loads for the dates that they want to pick them up, or if we want to deliver them, and issue the load order. The next step, usually the following week or sometime in the future, it's shipped. And so the shipping is accomplished through an outbound scale ticket. The outbound scale ticket is associated with the load order. And so now we know that the status of that load order is shipped and it's en route, being delivered or picked up from to the customer. The following step is to invoice the load order. So after the load order is shipped, we want to be able to create a sales invoice. And the sales invoice includes that load order number in addition to the scale ticket number and the contract number and all those traceability things. But so that they can, your customers, when they get the sales invoice, can track, oh, I see it's for this load number, and can update their accounting system accordingly. Okay, so enough with PowerPoints. Let's go ahead and take a look at some software. So this is the first screen that you launch when you get into Levridge. It's the Levridge Dynamics 365 screen. And the load orders all start with a sales contract. So let's take a look at the sales contract functionality in Levridge. And so I've called up a list. I've restricted it to just my Crookston branch. I'm going to use that for an example today. And we get a list of all the sales contracts, open sales contracts that are in the system. And in this case, it's closed, open and closed. So let's just take a look at one of these contracts. I'll zoom down on it. The contract, one of the main tenets of the contract is that it's a load-based contract, and load orders can be issued on either load-based or non-load-based contracts. But a load-based contract, the difference being that a load-based contract is for a number of loads. So maybe it's for 4 loads. And regardless of the actual size of the loads or the actual shipped quantity, when it gets to 4 loads, it is considered done, the contract's fulfilled, and it's complete. If it's a quantity-based contract, then you can also create load orders against quantity contracts, but the quantity will actually fill the contract, not the number of loads. So so what we're looking at here is a load-based contract. You can see here it's load-based. It's for 25 tons. Or I'm sorry, 25 loads. I'm sorry, 25 tons per load for 200 loads for 5,000 tons. Again, load-based means that when we get to the 200 loads, that contract is all done and fulfilled. Also part of the sales contracts is the way to see the delivery lines. In other words, it's common, mostly with byproducts from grain processors such as DDGs or MIDs or rice hulls or soybean meal, those types of things, that the contract is actually for a number of months for delivery periods, and this is in June, July, August, and September in this example, for a quantity of 50 loads each month. And you can see in this example, we've already shipped 3 of the loads for 78 tons. So the contract in Levridge has the ability then to have multiple delivery periods and then a different price for each delivery period. In addition to that, there's this cool new feature that's alternate delivery pricing. So notice that this contract primarily is set to ship to the Bungie address. They also have another address, Bungie 2, and if it goes there, it gets a different price, $15.50 basis for a 270 net price versus a 273 net price if it was delivered to the primary address. So this allows for the contract to provide the right price based on where the shipment actually goes to. So once we have the sales contract, the next step is to issue load orders, and that's the key to this whole webinar is issuing the load order against that contract. So let's go ahead and go to a commodity accounting, sales contracts for load requests. So in here, based on these filters, it defaulted to the way I had it filtered last time for that branch, for this commodity, for these dates. I only have one contract in the system, and it's that 1,250 ton contract. And if I want to go ahead and create a load request or create load orders for it, we click on that and hit create load request. So there's 2 concepts here. One is the load request itself, which is a header level information about all of the loads that we generate for this request. So you can You've basically talks about what sales contract it is, what customer it's on, the commodity. Again, that all filled in automatically because I clicked on it from coming from a sales contract. And it's the requested load dates and the shipping carrier. So I can say, hey, you know what, I think Lodestar Transport is going to haul these loads. And then there's some information here on the contract and the status of the various loads. So now if I want to create loads, I can just simply, I can do an add, and I can add one load at a time, load order number at a time, or I can do generate, and let's go ahead and do that. We'll generate, we won't generate all 50 loads. Let's say they called and said they want 4 loads for next week. So I'm gonna go ahead and generate 4 loads. And you see now we have 4 load numbers, number 45, 46, 47, and 48. The carrier is all defaulted to the one from the header. It could be different if you wanted to select a different header. And then it assumed one load per day, but let's say, yeah, you know what? No, that's not quite right. I want 2 loads today, and then maybe 2 loads on the, wait, we don't want to haul on the weekend, so we're going to put 2 loads on Friday. And then you can also put the delivery date if you want to. It does default this based on the transport time, but if you want to have work off of the delivery date, if your customers are further away, you can schedule that also. The quantity defaulted from the load size from the contract, and the shipped quantity will fill in based on the ticket. And then in this case, we're delivering, the deliver to address is the primary address, but if we wanted to deliver one of them to their secondary address, they said, hey, I need one of the loads to go to Hereford, Texas. We can go ahead and do that, change that delivery address right there. And then the load that goes to Hereford, Texas will get the different price than the loads that go to their primary Bungie address. So we can hit save and process. We'll actually release the load and say, hey, I'm all done with this load request, and we can process it. So you ask, well, why is there 2 buttons there? Why is there save and process? And the one of the core concepts around Levridge is business to business and customer self-serve. So in a future feature, we are going to have the ability for a customer to use a mobile app to request loads on their own. So they would be able to go in via their mobile app and request a load. Then you'll be able to see the loads that they've requested and go ahead, make sure they're okay, that everything looks good to you, and hit the process button, which actually releases them to be picked up or delivered, depending on the terms of the contract. So that's load request. Once we I'll go ahead and process these. And it created 4 new loads. So at this point, time should pass, although we did schedule two of them for today, but we could go ahead and let's look at our schedule of load orders that we have lined up for today. So we have this menu choice called sales requested loads. And I have this filtered, there is no filter, it's showing every load in the system for all dates. And of course I have some old data here, but I'll want to just leave that there just to show you that, hey, we can restrict and filter these down. So we can do a requested ship date that's exactly a certain date. But let's do everything that is after what was Monday, the 15th. And apply that filter. So now we see a list of all the load orders that are scheduled to ship, and that looks like they're a little out of order. So let's go ahead and sort it oldest to newest. So now we've got the loads on the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th already. So you can filter based on all of these columns. You can sort on all the columns. So if you're looking for a certain customer, if they call in and say, hey, what loads are you going to ship me this week? Or a certain commodity, in this case, we only have the one commodity, it shows all the loads. It also shows if it's already been shipped. There's a shipped quantity in there. So we were scheduled to ship this load on the 16th, and we must have shipped it because it shows as shipped. shows the carrier, contract, just all pertinent information to help you with scheduling and identifying your capacity and your workload for the week. So if you want to, there's a single click here to Excel, and so we can click that, and all this stuff goes to Excel, and you can call all the load orders up in a grid, and you can do processing or further filtering and reporting from there if you'd like. So that's another way to look at the schedule. All right. The next step in the process, so after we've issued the load order and said, hey, we got 2 loads for today and a couple loads for Friday, sooner or later that truck's going to come in, and typically this is done, this step when we load the truck is done with some scale application, and hopefully the Levridge scale app has the ability to put the load number in and track it at the scale as it comes across the scale. But that data eventually ends up in the Levridge accounting system as an outbound ticket. So let's just take a look at one of those outbound tickets. Okay, so the outbound ticket, notice has, it's an outbound ticket, it's a ticket number, what date it was, there's a status here, what customer it was shipped to, where it was shipped. Again, that all comes as part of the scale application, the scale software, the branch, the warehouse that the inventory was coming out of. And notice that says this one has the load number on it. So this ticket, number 16, was to ship load number 32. So in a ticket entry, it's very efficient. If you want to put the load order in first, then it defaults the customer, the commodity, the ship to, basically all of this information. All you need to do is punch in the gross weights and the tare weights, and to get the actual weights, and your ticket is done. It also goes ahead and at that time applies it to this contract. This applies this ticket to the sales contract that the load was generated for. Now you can change that if for some reason it was different or you needed to make an adjustment, but by default, it defaults the sales contract and applies this ticket to that sales contract. So now after the ticket has been, the commodity has been shipped, it's probably a pretty good idea that to invoice, to prepare a sales invoice so that the customer can pay you for that commodity. So that is done through the invoicing, through D365 Levridge, invoicing, shipped, not invoiced, bulk. So this is going to give us a list of all the outbound scale tickets that have been shipped out but have not been invoiced. It totals them by branch and customer and commodity. So you can say there was 2 tickets here. They went to Munson Lake Nutrition for DDGs, and it's 28 days old. So we're probably a little delinquent in getting that invoice out. It's 51 tons, and all of it has been priced, so it should be ready to go. And then so on and so forth. Again, this count here is the number of tickets that have been shipped but not invoiced based on the branch, customer, and commodity. So let's go ahead and take a look at this third one. It has 3 tickets on it. So that one, we just double click on the count and we'll bring up the bulk, the shipped, not invoiced screen. So this lists all 3 tickets, the ticket number 12, 13, and 16. And you notice that load 16 was actually shipped on a load order. And this is to illustrate that you can ship commodities without a load order, without a load number, or you can use load order system. So either way, it'll work. If you have the load number on it, it will show in this column, and it'll show on the invoice and the delivery sheet that you invoice. So basically, all you need to do, mark all and hit the invoice button, and the invoice will come out, the delivery sheet or settlement sheet will come out, and all through the way, the load number is tracked all through the system from the time it was started in the with the sales contract, through the scale ticket, through the invoice, all the way through.